listening to the Lutheran Ladies Lounge podcast. I'm Sarah.
I'm Erin.
I'm Bree.
And I'm Rachel.
Get your eating pants on today, ladies.
Yes. Elastic waistband, take me away.
It's true. I'm not kidding here. We have a very exciting episode because we're talking about like cake and pie and cookies and all kinds of deliciousness with a person who makes those things very delicious, because we have a conversation with creative episode today. We're talking about food. And Erin, who do we have with us?
Today we have Mary Kruta of Kruta's Bakery.
Kruta Bakery.
I thought I asked about this. It's not possessive. It's Kruta Bakery.
Oh, don't you love how I knew that off the top of my head?
Immediately.
I was like, it's Kruta Bakery. It's probably because I've been
Kruta Bakery Incorporated.
LLC.
It can go either way.
Sorry, I guess I didn't catch that.
I'm a branding nerd.
It's important to be accurate.
Thank you.
Especially with this sort of thing.
You know how I feel about journalistic integrity.
Yes. We want people to know the true experience.
You know it.
Yeah.
Mary's laughing at you already, Bree. This is great.
I know, I love it.
So, Mary, we're so glad you're here.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
It seems like maybe, Bree, do you know Mary?
I do know Mary.
How do you know her?
So, Jim and Mary Kruta, are you guys still members at Good Shepherd in Collinsville?
We sure are. Yep.
Okay,
Hey.
so I know them actually through their daughter, Catherine, who was in my class. We went to Good Shepherd Lutheran School in Collinsville, Illinois together from kindergarten up through 8th grade. We went to high school together when I was back at Metro East in Edwardsville.
Nice.
And so they have been long stalwart members of Good Shepherd Lutheran Church. They also made my confirmation cake.
Oh,
So
I love that.
Oh, good.
There's that.
Okay.
There's that.
I just have to ask, does Good Shepherd in Collinsville have the absolute best coffee hour pastries? This is what I really need to know.
Oh, sometimes. Yes.
Depends on the supplier.
That was very tactfully put, Mary.
Yep.
Well, no, yes. No, sometimes we take and sometimes we don't. We have a lot of good bakers at our church. So they sign up and bring some goodies.
I love that.
I love baking.
Mm.
I love eating more, though.
Well, let's dive right in here. First off, we don't want to assume anything. So,
Okay.
how do you become a baker?
Well, in today's world, it's a little bit more difficult than it was in our family's world. My husband's grandfather emigrated from Russia and landed in Texas in, I think, 1908, and then made his way up to Illinois and started a bakery in 1919.
Wow.
So he started Kruta Bakery in 1919.
I believe it was Kruta Brothers then, because a brother came with him.
Okay.
And then they started in East St. Louis in 1919.
Wow. Yeah. So we're doing the math here, and that one's pretty easy because
104. I almost said it the wrong number. 104 years.
Wait a minute. You didn't tell me I had to do math. I can't do math.
No,
I don't do math.
No, we got it.
Yeah.
We got you.
okay.
Then we moved to Collinsville in 1974. So next year will be 50 years in Collinsville.
Oh, okay.
Wow.
Awesome.
Wow, you got to celebrate two major milestones. fairly
Absolutely.
close together.
Yes.
True.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
Well, that tells us sort of how the bakery was started, but how on earth did you get mixed up in all of this?
Yeah.
True.
Yeah.
No pun intended.
Do you? Huh. Yes, I married into the family.
Uh-huh.
Were you a baker before you married into the family, or did you just
No.
have a really steep learning curve? How did that go?
I did. My husband actually was a musician, and he was playing on the road, and we met in Nebraska. I was working at the restaurant, and he was playing in, I don't know what they called it, the lounge area. And so somebody said, "Oh, Mary, let's go meet the band. I know these guys. I want you to meet them." And so, so that night we met each other, and Jim told his bandmates, "I'm going to marry that girl. I don't know who she is."
Yes.
So he loves to tell his story of love at first sight.
Uh-huh.
Oh.
So that's kind of a fun story.
Mm-hmm.
So then we communicated back and forth. Back then it was telephones and letters. And so eventually I moved here and we got married.
Uh-huh.
And so, the rest is history.
Now, when did you start? Well, Rachel, I think you had a follow up on the
Yeah,
romance.
you married a musician and ended up getting a family business that involves presumably a whole lot of work on your part.
Right. Well,
what was that conversation like?
Well, in the process of getting to know each other, he had determined his father had hurt his hand, and he said, I have to get back into the family business. And so I was yep, that's good. And so after we met the next year, then he started full time at the bakery.
Wow. So was he intending to, was he the heir apparent to the bakery?
He was intending to go. His older brother, though, is the one who, when they built in Collinsville, his father did that for him because Jim was on the road playing music. But then they just needed more hands at the bakery because everything took off. It became very busy. And so he just felt the family, the family ties pulling him back. And he was wanting to be back home anyway.
Along for the ride.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
At what point did you start taking an active role?
I would say probably about 1976. I started, and then 77 more. I started working in the store. I would wait on customers. I would answer the phone. I would pack orders. So I don't actually do any of the baking. I can do I can ice things and, prepare them, but I don't do baking. I'm not at the oven.
Okay. Who's the baker of the family then?
Okay. Well, my husband was. We have probably 4 or 5 bakers working at the bakery. And so we have the one person who goes in the back and scales off and mixes all the doughs. And then the other men who then they roll out the doughs and form it into the end product. And then there is one person who's dedicated to the oven. So they stay over and watch the oven because we have 2 great big ovens that hold 30 pans at a time.
Wow.
I feel like we should have done this on site.
True.
I need to see this now.
Well, that brings me to a follow-up question because when we refer to bakers, when Erin asked you how did you become a baker, I thought to myself, well, do you mean baker as in somebody who bakes or somebody who works at a bakery as a professional? And those are obviously 2 different categories. What would you say are the big differences when it comes to baking in your own kitchen versus baking professionally for other people at scale?
Well, since we are a full line retail bakery, some bakeries are more niche. And so you have these, the fun cupcake bakeries. And so they focus on one thing. Since we have so many different things, there's just so many balls in the air at the same time. I can walk into the bakery if I were to go in at 3:30 or 4 in the morning and just be amazed at all the activity that's going on. And then the person who watches the oven, as I said, one oven has 30 pans, the other one has 20. So they're watching 50 different things at the same time. And so it's a very intense job. So timing it, making sure you're getting the pans out at the right time, just the realization, because it's a real oven. So it's like, I don't know if you've seen rotisseries that go around, it goes around. And so if they let it go one too many times, they might have a whole rack of things that are burned. So it's not, I could never do it. I could never do it.
Peaks are going around.
Yeah, kind of like what am I trying to say? Like a Ferris wheel?
Oh, wow.
Ferris wheel. I said merry-go-round, but Ferris wheel.
This is so much more intense than I expected.
Take off as it comes ready, and you got to load in a new passenger.
Yep, you got it. Yep, that's it.
Oh my
Wow,
gosh.
got a vision.
I have so much respect for
I want to ride that Ferris wheel, though.
And the temperatures are different. Everything bakes, at a different temperature. So you put things in when it's lower, and then you raise the temperature for the things that need to be hotter. So
there's so much thoughtfulness that is needed.
Yes,
it's not like
math.
It's not like Duncan Hines. No offense to Duncan Hines, because I love a good boxed brownie, but it's not like preheat your oven to 350 and stick a toothpick in after 5 minutes or whatever.
Yes, there's a lot of it's like a jigsaw puzzle.
Oh,
It's amazing. So how many different things does the bakery produce? I'm curious.
How many different things do we produce? Whoa. Oh, hundreds.
Mhm.
Especially if you consider that, like for Danish rolls, we'll have 6, 7, 8 different types of Danish rolls. And then all the different donuts and like 10 or so different kinds of stolons, 3 or 4 different
Let's
strudels.
hear some of these things that you guys make. So you said there's danishes, donuts, stolons, strudels. What other
strudels?
What other
Gooey butter. Gooey butter cakes.
Oh, I miss gooey butter cakes, you guys. They don't have them in
So
Connecticut.
good. Connecticut is not ready for the gooey butter cake, Rachel. I'm sorry.
Oh, and also cream horns. We make a lot of cream horns. Fudgies.
What is a cream horn?
Oh, let's do that. Yes,
cream horns is they take pastry dough and wrap it around a tube so it will be a horn shape, and then they bake it in the oven. And then when it cools, they fill it with like a fluffy icing.
Sort of like cannoli?
Bigger than a cannoli.
Bigger than a cannoli.
Yeah.
And
Bigger-
cannoli would be a different dough. This is more of a French pastry, so it's very flaky.
Yeah.
Oh, that sounds amazing.
It's a little more like continental than a cannoli.
Okay.
If that makes sense. Cannoli is like I would say a cannoli shell is almost like a tortilla.
That's right.
Actually.
Yes, it's very thin like that. Yeah.
fried?
Yeah.
And it's fried, correct.
Mm-hmm.
I'm so hungry right now.
My mouth is watering.
So I have a question. I want to talk about product a little bit because obviously like Kruta Bakery is like a mainstay in Collinsville. It's been around for over a century. So my first question in terms like as it pertains to like product diversity, because you see a lot of like small niche, I'll call them micro bakeries.
Okay, yes.
That are the thing right now. And what do you do to stay relevant, or how do you stay relevant in a time where like that is like you're just sort of this all things to all people bakery? There's not really like let me ask this differently. Sorry. How does Kruta Baker differentiate itself as a small business that is not sort of towing the line of what's popular right now? Does that make sense?
It does make sense. There's a certain aspect you have to remain fresh. You have to have fresh ideas. And so we do like to add new, not necessarily niche items, but if all of a sudden everybody's wanting, I don't know what, like we were talking about cupcakes. If all of a sudden everybody's really wanting cupcakes, we have to figure out how we can give them what they want, but yet still stay true to who we are. So one of the things is we always do from scratch baking. And so there are certain items that they're just so difficult to do from a scratch perspective that we won't take that on.
Cronuts.
I know my husband tried those once.
Did he really?
We're awesome.
Delicious. Oh man!
When he made them, he's like, "Oh my gosh, we'll never be able to sell these. They're going to cost us so much for all the wonderful ingredients in it."
Yes, I'll buy them.
Yes. And Cronut is actually trademarked, so we would have to change the name.
Right?
We have to censor that out. Sorry. So my follow-up question then, is there any sort of, as you're sort of maintaining relevance and coming up with new products to meet demand, do you have any like memorable items that you tried to like bring to the forefront that either was a wildly popular, like unexpected success, or like just complete I don't want to say failure, but like straight up, like just turned out to be a hot mess.
Wow, that's
like
a good question.
We'll never do that again.
I don't remember anything that was an absolute failure that we made.
And that's entirely possible. I'm not surprised.
Right. Oh, that's a head scratcher for me. I'll have to think.
Sorry, I should have wrote this question in
whatever. For the stuff that has been like an amazing success, besides, I mentioned cream horns. Cream horns, we go through thousands of them a week. And we're just a small little bakery. But man,
Yeah.
whenever we bring radio bars back, it's just like,
Wait, what's that?
What are those? I cannot wait. I'm so excited for you to know what this is.
well, oh, was that Brie? Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
I know what they are.
Yes.
I can't wait for you to hear it.
So radio bars, my husband's brother developed those back in probably 75, 76. So radio bars is we take our chocolate cake, again, which is a scratch cake, and we cut it into like rectangles. And then we cook our own marshmallow. And so we pipe marshmallow on the top in 2 big dollops and then dip it in milk chocolate. And it is, it's just, it's like chocolate overload. It's very decadent.
It is heaven on earth in my belly.
So you said whenever you bring it back, is that something that you're like, we do this every 10 years?
Well, no,
back-
no, but like, sometimes it's hard to make sometimes in the summer because we're not air conditioned in our back. And so working with chocolate. But the last time we brought it back was, oh gosh, it's been within the month.
Oh,
Okay.
So it's a season. It's a seasonal
Yes.
item.
And so we announced on Facebook we were going to have it. And so we made like 300 of them and they sold in like an hour and a half.
Oh,
So
my
then-
goodness.
So then the next time my husband said, I'm going to be ready for this. So he made 1,000.
right after they sell out.
1,000.
So then we make 1,000 and the same thing, not as quickly, but wow, they were gone.
Wow.
How long does it take to make 1,000 radio bars?
Well, radio bars are, like I stated, a 3-step process. So the first, when you bake the cake, then we have to chill it so that it won't crumble when we dip it in the milk chocolate.
Yes.
Okay. So we chill it. We put the marshmallow on and we also have to then chill that. And so it's like 3 days.
Hmm.
And then I don't know how long it took him to dip all those. It was hours.
Because that's by hand. I'm guessing.
Yes, it is. Yeah.
Wow.
I just got with that right there that you just described. I just got like a little tiny glimpse of all of the logistics that are involved in running
It's
a
intense.
bakery.
Yes.
This. Like there's some serious scheduling in advance because if you have to devote that much time to it, it's going to throw off all of the rest of your production if you aren't prepared for it.
Exactly. Yep. So that's what my husband always comments when we add a new item, he has to do all the logistics of figuring out what time to do what items.
That's so wild.
I'm so impressed right now. I'm not going to lie.
Another really great item is our fudgies. Brie probably remembers those too. Fudgies. They're
If you could see Bree's
Keep
face right
talking,
now.
Mary. Keep talking.
so we use special cupcake pans. They're rounded more than flat on the bottom, and we put brown sugar and butter in the bottom, and then we pour our chocolate batter on top of that. And then when we turn them over, it's almost kind of like the gooey stuff on the bottom of a pineapple upside down cake.
Yes.
So we let that cool, and then we put chocolate, a deep chocolate fondant icing on it.
Sounds so intense.
Can I just need to say something right now. So you know how we talk about, we did that one episode on Financial Peace University, the Dave Ramsey.
Yeah.
Kruta Bakery catered the Financial Peace University sessions that I went to. And the one thing I remember, there were 3 things I remember from Financial Peace University. Being able to create a budget, how to do a debt snowball, and most importantly, eating a fudgie. Those were the 3 most important things about Financial Peace University.
Brie, when you started that story, I thought it was going to go in a totally different direction.
The
one thing
I blew all of my budget on
all of my budget went to baked goods at Kruta Bakery.
That would be funny though. I would not be above that. Also, okay, I'll play.
Yeah.
That's fine.
Yeah. Mary, are there any Kruta recipes of that you think should have a comeback? And you want to make your pitch here and sort of build a crowd swell of desire for this recipe that your husband's like, it's so much production. No. And you're like, but the people
I have
want
2.
it.
I have 2 off the top of my head.
Yes, let's hear them.
And some of these are crowd favorites and some are not. But
It's okay.
we get Napoleons. They want Napoleons back. And my husband will just kind of shiver and like, oh, there's so many steps to making them.
Okay.
Because it's also a labor-intense item, but they're very good.
Can you walk us? Because I am not.
I'm Googling Napoleon right now.
A Napoleon would
never heard of this.
There's two different kinds. So Napoleon would be French pastry, so flat that you bake like in a sheet pan, and it would be flat. And then you cover it. The ingredients on the inside would be a Bavarian cream. It would be whipped cream and custard mixed together. And then you put another sheet of baked pastry on top and then cut them out into, again, rectangles. And then there's another one. That's how we do them anyway. And then there's another one that has also a jelly in the film, a layer of jelly also, like a raspberry jelly.
Yeah, that sounds pretty
That
nice.
sounds amazing.
But like that's in addition to the Bavarian cream, not instead of.
It's not
right?
Correct.
Okay.
That sounds amazing.
But the dough is so flaky, it's really hard to cut. And so my husband's like, yes.
Yeah.
That's what a Napoleon is. Okay, I know exactly what you're talking about now. Thank you.
And then another item is we've had a lot of people asking for us to bring back our fluffy cheesecake, which is like a French chiffon cheesecake. So it's real light and airy. And there's no crust on this one. And so
Interesting.
and they're excellent with like strawberries. Strawberries and whipped cream. Ugh.
This isn't at all similar like to the jiggly Japanese cheesecakes that had a big fad there for a while, are they?
No. No, this is more of a French.
Okay.
And
Okay,
we use something called baker's cheese rather than like a cream cheese or a sour cream. Although it might have some sour cream in it, but we use baker's cheese.
Okay.
Which is
what is baker's cheese?
Is that more of like a ricotta situation?
It is. It's more of an unripened, so it's not cooked cheese. And then they drain it in cheesecloth so that the whey is separated. Then the whey it is drained off.
Huh.
That's so cool.
So it'll be a drier cheese. Yeah.
Like a finer crumbly kind of, right?
And then you add your eggs and your milk and your sugar. Yeah.
Okay, Mary, I got to ask you a hard question. And this wasn't on the list, but just listening to you talk and one after another, delicious dessert. How do you stay healthy in your line of work? Because for me, that would be an occupational hazard to be sure. But it kind of looks like you figured it out. What's your secret?
Okay. My secret is I don't really eat a lot of it at a time. I have my favorites, my ultimate favorites. But here's the trick. Every time I go into the bakery, I look around and I can have whatever I want. I can go pick up a cookie or anything and I'm like, nah, I'll get one later because I know it's there. It's almost like just the knowledge that it's there is enough.
That you could have it.
Yes.
If you want it.
And I'll end up generally just getting a cookie or something.
Okay.
But another aside to that is when you're working around it a lot and it's all carbs, it's like, man, I want some protein. I need some protein. I need some grapes or carrots or something.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
All that sugar you're inhaling into your lungs.
I know.
Yeah.
Okay, but now I have a question. Speaking of inhaling sugar, like talking about the sheer volume, do you have like a number or like estimate of how much flour and eggs and stuff you guys go through every day or every week or something?
How much flour do we go through in a day?
Yeah. I mean, like ballpark.
I'm looking at my husband to see if he has an answer. Hundreds of
Hey, Jim.
Yeah, so he just reminded me, remember, we have 5 different flours that we use. So there's like a pastry flour, high gluten flour. There's just a cake flour. And then I'm trying to remember how many bags are back there at a time. I mean, gosh. And there's 50 pounds in a bag. And there's probably...
You're giving us right here I think a very good idea of the scale of this project that is Kruta Bakery.
So hundreds of pounds, yeah.
We talked about logistics. What about, the science involved when you talk about different flours for different things? And I think we were talking before the episode that you corrected us. Bakers don't use recipes; they use formulas. This is a conversation with creatives So we think about the art of baking, and there's definitely an art to it, but tell us about the science involved.
Yeah.
Oh, the science. Yes. Well, we were just talking about flours. So there's high gluten flour for breads, which means when you mix the dough, you build longer strands of protein. And so your bread will rise, and it'll trap the air from the yeast better because you're using those long strands of protein. And then there's like a pastry flour, which would be totally different. And then I guess a cake flour.
In the pastry.
Yeah, you don't want gluten in the pastry.
True.
And then you have to have your ratios correct. You have to have the right amount of, like I was mentioning, yeast, or the right amount of baking soda or baking powder. And you also have to know that certain ingredients you can't mix together because you're going to form too much acid. And so like different chocolates have different levels. So yeah, there's a lot of science to it.
Yeah. Do you have to do any adjusting? You mentioned that like in the back, it's not air conditioned. So do you have to actually adjust throughout the year as you're baking to like,
yes, definitely.
It's summer, so we use a slightly different approach than we would for the same recipe at a different time of year.
So when they're mixing the doughs, even sometimes in the winter, they have to add ice to the dough so that it doesn't start proofing while it's in the bowl. And so that slows it down. It lowers the temperature. Because when you're doing a big batch of bread, you don't want the bread to start proofing in the bowl before it's completely mixed, say. And so then you just add some ice and slow it down.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, what is proofing for people who don't bake bread?
Oh, I'm sorry. Proofing is when you let it rise.
Ha, that makes sense.
And we have
I actually knew that one. I'm really proud of myself.
So we have a big walk-in steam box, a proofing box that we just can wheel all of the racks in. And so, it's like a big walk-in freezer size.
The steam box.
And it's, and we put steam in there for the breads and for the sweet doughs.
Oh, that's brilliant. Because so often they get a little tough around the outside, dry. But the steam would
before it gets in the oven, right?
Huh?
Yes.
Not at Kruta
Bakery.
They have a steam box.
It's starting to become clear why the baked goods are so good.
Makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, and a lot of our formulas are from way back in East St. Louis when the bakery was in East St. Louis. And so, I mean, some that Jim's grandfather actually brought. Yeah.
Yeah, what's the oldest formula that you're currently still using?
Oldest formula that we're still using? Oh, my. Possibly the rye bread.
Oh.
Yeah, I would guess. Yep.
Sounds like it came from the old country.
Well, and so I wanted to jump in. I'm glad you asked that because this is yet another question that I did not add to the list. And Jim may pitch in if he so desires. But as we're sitting here, I obviously hate myself because I'm on my phone scrolling through all of your offerings on the Kruta Bakery website, krutabakery.com. And I'm noticing obvious Russian influence. I mean, that makes sense. But culturally speaking, what role, aside from influencing the items, culturally, does it influence anything else as part of your operation, whether past or present?
So you mean aside from the product, I'm not sure which direction you're going there.
I'm not going in any kind of direction whatsoever.
Yeah, we do try to stay true to that aspect of it because we have a lot of customers that have been coming here for a long time, and they definitely want to come get the kolache that they had as a child, or the pumpernickel rye, which we don't have right in these couple weeks. And my husband was just sending me another note, and and so with the kolache, and then during the holidays we make a babka, which we call a holiday bread.
That's awesome.
And so and now we're doing hot cross buns because we're in Lent, and so we'll have hot cross buns, and then we also do. I don't know if you saw the big push for punchki, so we make punchki.
Yeah.
We are already on the record for loving punchki.
Love that.
I can tell. And so that is a formula that we've used forever and ever. And so it's a really rich, you like it. It's a really rich dough. And we still do the poigla, which is the prune. We do a prune filling. which
I love that
Ooh.
prune punch key. That was my favorite one.
I'm totally team
find
custard.
those anywhere
Yeah.
except
I
Kruta
had
Bakery, apparently.
Except
Yeah.
Kruta Bakery, of
yeah,
course.
the younger generation, as they say, doesn't like the
Yes.
prune as much.
Huh.
But I
it's
feel like
just the name. It's just the poor branding that Prune's
Yeah.
got
That's so Prune.
saddled with.
That's like that's
so
why
much
you say the Polish way. It's the poidla.
Oh.
That
But
is
I
right.
feel like
Changing the branding.
and
That's
maybe
right.
this is all item related. Maybe my question was poorly worded, but like I feel like it's so cool that, to put it crassly, like the old country influences that still are with the company today,
Yeah.
and like you're you can sort of spark discussion about like different celebrations, and like at Christmas we make babka and this is why, and I think it's a way of preserving
Oh, absolutely. Yes.
culture from overseas,
Yes.
and like time and
Heritage.
space. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a cool way to do that, and
Absolutely.
a delicious way to do
Oh,
it.
yes.
Well, isn't
Yes, we
that
have
how
pi-
so many families pass on their family culture at Christmas time with the cookies?
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we have people who come in and say, I used to come in here with my grandmother, and they're probably like in their 60s. And so they talk about, and families, well, we all gather around food, it seems, not just Lutherans. And so it's just like the food has the connection through the generations. Yep.
Yes.
Yeah.
I love that so much.
Yeah.
And we like to
Now-
talk about our family heritage. My husband's pretty, I don't know what you want to say, humble. He doesn't like to talk about himself at all, but he will talk about his parents and his grandparents and his aunts and uncles who worked at the bakery, and talked about how there were times when they would work literally 20 hours a day and come back and the next day and start all over again, and just but all the hard work they did. And I like the phrase, we stand on the shoulders of giants. That
Yes.
generation that lived through the Depression and through the Second World War, they're just an amazing group of people that just tough.
Mm-hmm.
Tough as nails.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, I'm curious, right along those lines, Kruta Bakery is 100 plus years old. It was started by your husband's grandfather.
Yes.
But how far back, like, was he the first baker in his family, or was there a longer history of baking?
As far as we know, he was the first. He was in Russia, and he traveled over to Germany became an apprentice baker. And so he learned in Germany, which would be Eastern Germany, and over where Poland, Russia, and Germany, right in there.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so he came to the States when he was in his teens.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Brave people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a big risk.
It is.
That's a huge risk.
Yes.
Yeah.
With no money, but he did know how to bake.
That's something. You got a skill.
That's a trade.
That's amazing.
And if you are willing to work, you mentioned the 20 hours. And
Yes.
I know that on
Yes.
top of the art and the science and the logistics is also a whole lot of probably backbreaking
You also
work.
mentioned like 3 and 4 a.m. starts.
Yes, well, I'm curious. My follow-up question is this. Take us through a day in the life of Kruta Bakery. Who's doing what when?
Okay, so my husband goes in at about 1:30.
What?
And
AM, right? 1:30 a.m.
in the a.m. Yes.
Oh my.
So
word.
what happens? The first thing that happens is the men in the back, because we also have one woman baker now. They start mixing the dough. They start scaling off the doughs and mixing it. So scaling is because they literally use a scale to measure. They don't.
Yeah.
We don't use like pints and cups. We use a scale.
Yeah.
And so
It's the way to do it.
the balance scales. And so they make it and start mixing it, turn the ovens on, get the doughs into the pans. And then they, like I was mentioning before, go to the proof box. And so then the woman who is at the oven, she puts them in, takes them out. And then we have how many people? 3 people after that point, after they knock things out of pans, after they tray them. We have people who then will like cut the cheesecakes, cut the peanut coffee cake, and then ice everything, and then put them on pans for the store. And they hope to get that done by 6:00 when we open. Some things do not get out right away. And then we have another person who is just doing donuts. So they're over frying the donuts. And then we have another person that will then, as they cool, will start icing them.
Wow.
And two of those are my
feel like-
sons. Two of my sons work there.
Yes.
Okay.
Keeping it in the family.
Yes.
I love that.
I the one thing that cures my insomnia periodically is realizing that there are people up in the world like making delicious bakery items, and there's a woman at the oven
Yes.
watching everything, and then I fall asleep, and then I wake up and I won't go eat a donut. Like that's
So is all of that happening before you open?
Correct. Yes. There might
So
still
what
be.
time do you open?
We open at 6.
They open from 6 to 5 p.m.
Right.
Bro.
And then 6 to 3 on Saturday. But yeah, almost everything's done by the time we open. There might be a few scragglers. Or like we were talking about the dough proofing. For instance, if say the bread didn't proof as quickly as we wanted, obviously it's going to then be in the store a little bit later.
Mm-hmm.
So when do all these early rising bakers go to bed?
Yeah.
Or do they?
Wow. I don't know what time they do. My husband, gosh, depends if he's got a lot of like book work to do, but he'll go to bed about 7:30.
Okay.
Okay.
That's
reasonable.
yeah.
Decent.
Yeah.
It's
So
not a
I'd be
lot
in
of
bed
sleep,
by
but it's enough
noon.
to survive.
Right. Yep. 6 hours of sleep. He's real happy if he gets 6 hours of sleep.
That's not bad.
Well, okay, so as we're talking about this and you're making references to your boys, and I know that they are my age and older.
Correct.
Does Jim plan to retire anytime soon? Like what's like the
Breaking news.
He needs the big snooze. Like, you know what I mean? Like he needs a vacation.
Jim Curtis retired. What's
That's why I asked it kind of subtly downhill.
I know. Well, yes, we're starting to try to pull back a little bit. I'm not there as much as I used to be, but it's really hard because he just has so much just sheer knowledge, and it's hard.
Yeah.
Some things are just so intuitive for him. It's hard to pass it on without going step by step. And
Yes.
it's kind of like braiding hair. You know how to braid hair, but show somebody.
Yeah. Oh no,
Yeah, it's hard.
I have daughters who do not know how to braid hair, despite having had their hair braided every day of their life, because teaching is not the same as doing it. And institutional knowledge is so precious.
Yeah.
Yes. Yep. So those are our. That's a goal that we're looking at is to get him out of there. The only time lately he's been gotten out is if he got hurt or got sick.
Oh no.
So it's hard to take time off, especially since as we were talking, you can tell how all of the key people are just kind of, they fit like a jigsaw puzzle, like I was saying. And if one person's missing, the other have to pick it up, and it can be.
That's challenging.
Cohesion is very important, it sounds like.
Yeah.
Holy moly.
So, Mary, the Lutheran Ladies Lounge, we desire to take on an Easter baking challenge.
Yes.
And we want you to help us decide what we are going to bake. Okay. We want it to be, we could do different desserts. It doesn't have to be that we're all making the same thing. Or we could pick just one. But what recommendations do you have for us? What do you think? If we were going to make quintessential Easter dessert, what is it?
And plus something that is a little bit easier, maybe.
Oh yeah,
I don't think I have a cream like bread.
Right. Accessible.
I would waking up at 1:30. I'm sorry.
That's right.
Well, maybe we should
probably
start a little further back and just ask, what are favorite Easter desserts? Like at Kruta Bakery, when it comes time for Easter, what formulas do you pull out knowing that people are going to be coming in for these?
Yeah, that is a good
question. Well, besides the hot cross buns, which we do through Good Friday, is I would say carrot cake.
Okay.
And so I think that would be an item too that would be very accessible. I mean, you could even get a mix, to do it.
Yeah.
And so then you could start with like a base mix and then explore.
And then doctor it up.
Yes. That one you could explore a little bit if you're adding those type of ingredients because you've already got everything else figured out, the science. And then you could add your pineapple or your pecans or your raisins.
It's kind of a contentious topic too.
It is.
A little bit.
I'd like to hear what is the Kruta carrot cake.
If you can share the secret recipe.
So ours
formula.
Ours does not have coconut in it. So there are very strong feelings on yes on coconut or no on coconut.
Yep. Okay.
But we do have the pineapple and the pecans and the raisins. We don't do the walnuts. We do the pecans because
I like that.
I like that too.
Yeah.
Well, how would you describe a good carrot cake
Oh, wow.
versus an average one? Like, what are the qualities?
How do we elevate this thing?
Make it?
I would say there's a certain point where if you add too many of these ingredients, it's going to be your cake's not going to work. But
put that thing in a steam box.
Do you know what I mean? Like the if you add too much pineapple, it's going to be gooey. But I think make sure your carrots you freshly grate your carrots.
Oh yeah.
Although I think they even sell bags of grated carrot you could probably use.
Probably.
Drain your pineapple. Make sure your pineapple's drained.
Oh,
And I love raisins, so I would put a little bit more raisins in mine.
Okay.
But then my son hates raisins. He said, when I'm eating something, it's like a road bump. Because we make something called molasses bars, and they have raisins in them. And he's like, "Oh, those are like road bumps. I don't want those." Okay.
Oh, gosh.
Do you ever? Okay, so that makes just another random question. Then I'm sorry, I keep derailing it. Like, I'm supposing Paul works there, right?
Correct. Paul and Jim. Yes.
Is Paul the one who doesn't like raisins?
No, it's Jim.
Okay, so let's suppose Jim is on molasses bar duty today. Like, can he ever? Are they allowed to like doctor up like different recipes based upon their own personal preferences, or have they ever like tried to prank the store, or like you know what I mean?
I
would
do
totally
know what you
that.
mean. Yes. And we do, yes, not on the molasses bars, though. They have to have raisins. I love raisins. But, they love to experiment with things and say, and just put something out there. And the store clerks will be like, what is this? And so.
I love that. Okay, sorry.
Okay,
back on.
We're circling back now
Sorry.
to the carrot cake topic.
May I say I love this idea because I love carrot cake and carrot cake with cream cheese frosting. If I make it,
where I was going next.
It's going to have to not have nuts or raisins because I live with picky young people.
Oh,
but
exactly.
I think I can still work with a wonderful carrot cake. I'm in love with this.
I want to hear about the frosting here.
Yes.
Is it important?
I think so. We use and ours is it's a cream cheese icing. We mix cream cheese with our buttercream, I think, for the carrot cake.
Mm-hmm.
Jim just said no. We've done it that way before, but yeah, you can lighten it up a bit. Let's just say you don't want it to be. And so to whip up your cream cheese, that would be good.
Okay. Baker's cheese?
No, not Baker's cheese. Nope.
No, not Baker's cheese. Don't do that.
That has to be
that. You don't have access to that anyway.
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
How about frosting carrots?
And you could even do cupcakes. So that would be fun too. You could make them in cupcakes. Yep.
Right. A carrot cupcake.
How would you keep the carrot? I mean, for me, a carrot cake needs to be super moist. And would that work with it's got to work with a cupcake.
Oh, yes.
I'm just thinking out loud here.
I don't think you would have to change your formula for a cupcake, for a carrot cake cupcake. I think it would still work. Especially if you keep it in the wrapper and
True.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And I like my carrot cake cold. So I like it to come out of the refrigerator. I don't like it to, I think it tastes better cold, but everybody's different.
I like a cold frosting.
I think that's part of it. Yeah.
So good.
Is carrot cake something that is best the first day? Or is it better the second day?
Oh, that is a good question. I don't know.
The context for this question is Erin once served us a family recipe fruit cake that she said wasn't any good until it was at least 3 months old.
Yeah, we're not going there. No.
3 months old carrot cake.
No.
I will say though that if you make it with honey, it will be better probably the second or third day because if you make stuff with honey, it tends to sweeten as it sits.
Interesting.
I only know this because my husband is a honey fiend and everything we make.
It does add a different quality to it because it's more, what would I say? Because it is, honey would add, because I'm trying to think of the technical term to it, but I know what your husband's talking about. Yeah.
Yeah.
Is it like floral? Is that the right word?
I think it's just not pound for pound, but ounce per. It's just sweeter.
The
same amount of sugar would be less sweet than the honey. Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I will be making this with maple syrup though.
Yes.
I feel like this is attainable for you too. I'm very excited about this.
I might be able to figure something out.
Yeah.
At least carrot something tangentially related to carrot
True.
cake.
Yeah.
I'm so happy.
In the neighborhood.
In the neighborhood, yes.
So, ladies, I think this is going to be, is this an iron ladle? It sounds like this sounds to me like it's an iron ladle
This is an
challenge.
iron ladle challenge.
The
Carrot cake.
carrot cake challenge.
Oh, boy.
We will each create a carrot cake dessert.
Oh, wow. Yes.
And
So excited.
discuss how it went, how it failed, how it exceeded expectations. We'll discuss it all.
Do you have any words of warning for us, Mary, as we attempt these carrot cakes? Like,
I
what?
would say
How not to
don't
fail.
Don't overdo the
overbake
pineapple.
it. Don't overbake it. Like you were
Make it look
saying.
good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Dry.
yes. Or don't use a high temperature.
Rotating oven.
Yeah. Ferris wheel oven.
We'll all be buying rotating ovens.
Semi-related question. Do you have a lamb cake pan that I can borrow?
Oh,
Like, do
we
those?
have a lamb cake pan? We might
Yeah,
have.
those-
We don't make lamb cakes, but
What?
But we do
You
have.
should.
We do have some pans you could borrow.
Are you for real right now?
Can you
Yeah.
imagine that? Where are you going to store those lamb cake pans the rest of the year? They've
I
got
bet.
600
Oh,
lamb
Oh,
cake
some bakeries make lots of lamb
Once a
cakes.
year.
Yes,
They stack, right? They probably stack.
pans.
yes.
You don't know. Put them in the steam box when it's summertime. You know what summer in Missouri is like.
Well, right now they're actually below the stairs in in our daughter's house, and so they're not at the bakery.
Oh. Are they at Catherine's house? Because I'll just go over and hang out. We'll just go hang out a little bit.
Let me know. I'll get you a lamb pan. Oh, that rhymes.
Sweet.
You know,
Yes.
I'm actually feeling very vindicated to know that you don't make lamb cakes because when we had Katie Schuermann on our show for an Easter type conversation and lamb cakes came up, I was taken aback by the fact that I had never ever seen one in my life. And to find that they were just this regular part of Easter, I actually found it out when I was researching an article I wrote for Lutheran Witness too. But this lamb cake is not part of my family or personal history at all. So the fact that you also do not bake lamb cakes every year makes me feel slightly better about myself.
Yeah.
Same.
Vindication.
Don't do a lamb cake. Whatever you do, people.
I don't think they've ever done lamb cakes since I've been married to Jim. I may have seen one at another bakery. Sometimes we go to other
That
bakeries.
deserves a comeback.
We go get ideas from other bakers, and I think maybe I saw one there.
Espionage.
It is, yeah.
I love that for you.
Oh, go in incognito. I'm here scoping out your stuff.
True that.
It seems to be a German tradition. So,
The lamb cake.
that one just didn't get picked up.
Yeah, maybe. I think they made them in East St. Louis because we still have some pans, but and they're hard to make. I think they're hard to make.
Yeah.
That could be
To
it.
me, that makes sense.
Yeah.
There's so much, like, they aren't a uniform depth.
They're just like
So
different
it's got
Yeah.
crevasses.
really
My
You almost
challenge.
have to shape it.
My husband just commented, you make them, and then some of them, the heads will fall off. So then you're like, you got to have
Some of them make it, some of them don't.
exactly. Then you'd start all over again.
Dang.
Well, the other good news is that Mary did not challenge us all to do a lamb cake. She
Right.
gave us a carrot cake, and I'm
That
even
is good
more
news.
happy about it.
Yes. Thank you, Mary.
It's
Thank
like-
you for
Some of these, what are they? These, not face, what hacks are they? They do the hacks where they do, it's probably from like Etsy or something. And they try to do the cake the way these people post it. And look at this cake. And then you make it yourself. And it's like, oh my goodness.
I nailed it.
This looks like a
Yes.
frog. This isn't a lamb.
I'm making a lamb cake, guys, and it is not going to look like a lamb, and that's why it's going to be hilarious.
Okay. Bree, you can do that. I am not making a lamb cake.
Maybe I'll introduce a new form of pollution into the ecosystem again. Sour gummy worm pollution.
So, Mary, this was so good.
This was a blast.
Yeah, I would like you to tell people how to find
Oh, okay.
your baked goods. If they're going to find them in person, or can they be ordered? How can they
Okay.
get?
Well, we're at 300 St. Louis Road in Collinsville. And we have a website, krutabakery.com. And there are some items you can order on there, but we do not deliver. We don't mail out. Because we don't use preservatives in our foods. And so by the time you got it, it would be stale.
Yeah.
Gross.
Yeah.
So those of you who are lucky enough to live within driving distance of Collinsville, Illinois, check it out, because I'm not, and I'm jealous. So you owe this to me. Go do it.
And if you've been here but haven't been here lately, we've added a whole new addition. And so we have seating, indoor seating, and we have patio seating outside.
Nice.
So that's kind of fun. Yes.
It's nice.
And
So you can eat your donut and your little coffee.
Yes, and we're hoping to start.
There.
We're hoping to start some like savory breakfast items. So that'll be fun too.
Yeah.
Gosh, that's the best. Perfect breakfast location.
I love it.
Yeah.
That's so cool. Mary, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks for inviting me. Yes. It was a blast. Hungry. It's good to hear Bree's laugh again. I remember that laugh. From
With
school.
my influenza A through Z right now. So fun. So fun.
Oh man, ladies, if you also want to join us in this carrot cake challenge, we'd love to know how it turns out for you. You'll find out. I think it might be our next episode that will be
very
the carrot
soon,
cake.
Anyway.
It will be very, very soon that you'll know what happens.
Very soon.
You'll know what happens with this carrot cake baking challenge. So
I can't wait to hear.
Stay tuned. It is our next episode. These are back to back, guys.
Wow.
You will know in 1 week what happens in this saga of carrot cake. I can't wait.
May the best baker win, right?
Okay, that's just Erin. We can.
Erin will win.
Erin will win.
There you go. End of episode. Roll credits.
Join us in our Facebook group, the Lutheran Ladies Lounge on Facebook. We'll all share our pictures of our carrot cake baking experiences there. And on Instagram, you can follow us there at Lutheran Ladies Lounge as well. You can find all of our podcasts at kfuo.org/Lutheran Ladies Lounge, or on your favorite podcasting app, or on the KFUO radio app. You can also sign up for our e-newsletter. I almost forgot. E-newsletter. We send that out sort of monthly. You can sign up for that in the show notes for this episode, or you can send us an email, lutheranladies@kfuo.org, and we'll get you signed up for that as well. You're listening to the Lutheran Ladies Lounge podcast. I'm Sarah.
I'm Erin.
I'm going to go get some fudgies. Does anyone need anything?
And I'd like to personally apologize to anyone who gave up desserts for Lent.
Brutal. We needed a trigger warning on this one, guys.
We can still record it. Dang.
2 weeks.
That is brutal.
Oh no.
What evil lurks here. Yes.
I know it. Mary, this was the bomb. Like, I'm not even
Thanks
lying
for having me.
now.
Views and opinions expressed on the Lutheran Ladies Lounge podcast may not represent the official position of the management or ownership of KFUO Radio, the Lutheran Church Missouri Synod. The Lutheran Ladies Lounge is produced by KFUO Radio and available at kfuo.org or wherever you get your podcasts. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and leave a review for us too. If you love the Lutheran Ladies Lounge podcast, consider financially supporting our producer, KFUO Radio, so we can keep doing what we do. Find out how at kfuo.org/give.